my video blog on what to wear to a wedding. Now, I get so many emails and requests from clients that like to book a special occasion shop purely to go to a wedding because they're wandering around the high street aimlessly trying to find the perfect dress, and they really do struggle, especially if it's quite a nice event where there's going to be loads of people that they know there and they want to look and feel good on that special day, because let's face it, you're never more photographed than you are when you're at a wedding. So where do we begin? Well, I always say to my client, I need to know the etiquette of the wedding. So basically, you've got to become a bit of a wedding detective. Number one for me is the style of the invitation, because generally that will reflect the style of the wedding. So is it quite flamboyant and outrageous, or is it quite subtle and classical? And also, it might actually tell you exactly what the dress code is. So it might be lounge suit, it might be black tie. So this will tell you exactly the type of clothing that you need to be looking for. The next thing to consider is, of course, the venue and where the wedding and the reception is being held. So if it's within the UK, you've obviously got to look at the time of the year. So temperature, and obviously location. If it's outside, if it's going to be breezy, you don't want anything too light and too floaty, you've got to keep your modesty intact. And also, if you're on the ground, so if it's in a marquee or in a beautiful stately home where the photographs are going to be outside, you've also got to consider footwear. So you're not going to be able to wear, your stilettos, maybe something more slightly lower or a bit of a wedge. So understanding the style of the wedding from your invitation and the venue of where they're getting married and the time of the year are probably the most important parts to start with, and that gives me a really good idea of the kind of outfit we need to get you. So every woman wants to look beautiful on a wedding day, not just the bride but the guests as well. And the main thing that I find is, obviously, the last thing you want is to turn up at the wedding and be dressed in a dress exactly the same as someone else. And this is always going to be a risk when you are shopping on the high street. So I'd say my number one tip is to get in early. As soon as that invitation lands, I would try and get out to the shops if you can, because the chances being most people will leave it quite last minute. It'll be the last few weeks before the wedding begins before they're going to go out and buy that dress. So if you want to make sure that you're not turning up in the same outfit as anyone else, I'd get in as early as you can. My other tip would be to go to more of a smaller independent boutique. The reason being is they're going to have labels that are less readily available as they would be on the high street. So not everyone's going to have access to them, and also customer service is always generally going to be slightly better than the high street. You're going to get someone that's going to help you with the entire outfit, so hopefully pull out a dress and maybe put you in a hat and shoes and a bag that all goes together. So that would be another tip for me to give to you. Another thing that I always get asked is, should I wear a hat? Now personally, again, this depends upon the style of the wedding. But if it's quite a formal, traditional wedding, quite classical English style, then I would say yes, it's always nice to wear a hat. If you don't feel comfortable with a hat, then you can always opt for a fascinator. And I would always get this when you've chosen your dress. Never buy something before. Same with the shoes. The amount of wardrobes I go through in this most fabulous pair of shoes, and I'd be like, well, you've not even worn them. Oh, I bought them to wear to a wedding, but I couldn't find a dress that went with them. It's always so much harder to do it that way. So your accessories are things to get at the end after you've bought that all-important dress. Now, if your dress that you've chosen is quite plain and uncomplicated, that's when you can really go to town with your accessories. So make sure you wear a fabulous pair of shoes, a beautiful hat, and an amazing clutch bag. But that also works the other way around. So if your dress is quite bright, colourful, maybe there's pattern going off or detail, then keep your accessories, your shoes, your clutch bag, and maybe fascinator as simple and as classical as possible. So if you're only invited to the evening do, I'd suggest going in something quite classical and formal, as you would if you were going out for a nice dinner or to the theatre. If it's a black tie event, so it'll say black tie as the dress code, then get out those sequins, get out the bling, and really do go for it. So I've just got 8 really simple rules that everyone can follow of what to wear to a wedding. Number 1 is a dress. It's the basic, safest route to go. It's always a lot easier to wear one piece than teaming a trouser suit which separates together. Whack on a beautiful pair of shoes, a clutch bag, slick a lipstick, and you're ready to go. Number 2, avoid anything too short, too fitted, too revealing, too sexy, okay? We don't want big fat gypsy wedding. We want it beautiful, demure, classical and chic. Number 3 of my rules, no white. Never wear white to a wedding, not as the guest. Leave that colour to the bridal party only, okay? Especially lace. So it's just respectful for the bride. Don't turn up to a wedding in white. Number 4 of my rule, it's okay to wear black. Now, it's quite an old-fashioned rule that it was typically if the mother of the bride or groom wore black, it was sort of doom and gloom. She didn't approve of the match. And it's been quite an old-fashioned rule that you should never ever wear black to a wedding. I personally believe it can be beautiful and chic worn to a wedding because you can always introduce colour into it, and monochrome is always gorgeous at a wedding. If you're still of that feeling that you shouldn't be wearing it, then by all means do seek permission from the bride. Number 5 is always carry a small clutch bag or bag if you can. Having something quite large and bulky doesn't really scream special occasion. I find it quite hard because I love a big bag, but in a way I think of it, do you know what, I'm having a bag detox. I'm going to go smaller and just have all your essentials in a smaller bag. My number 6 is wear comfortable shoes. So by all means, you are probably going to want to wear heels to a wedding because they make you feel better, look better, and they go with your outfit more. But think of it as it's going to be an awful long day. Weddings can be, you know, arriving at midday for the ceremony, you've got all afternoon, and then you're probably dancing into the early hours of the morning. And it's a long time to be on a pair of heels. So if you're going to wear them, make sure that they are comfortable. If you're buying a new pair of shoes, I would always suggest wearing them around the house for a bit. Even if you're doing the ironing in them, just get your feet used to them, bed them in and stretch them a little bit. My next top tip and rule is if you're going to a religious ceremony, always cover your shoulders if you can. So I always say think of Royal Ascot. So Royal Ascot, the rule is nothing strapless. If you're wearing a strap, it has to be an inch thick. So I think that also applies to weddings personally. So if you have got a strapless dress or something that is a little bit strappy and it's a particularly religious ceremony, then make sure you take a pashmina or a wrap to cover your shoulders when the ceremony is happening. And my last little tip and rule is to basically allow some pamper time, because I think it's not often that we get dressed up and be able to go out in a beautiful dress and a pair of high heels. So I think we should enjoy these moments. So for me, I go and have a manicure or a pedicure the day before, maybe even a trip to Saint-Tropez, you know, have your hair put up if you want to, but just give yourself a bit of that nice pamper time, because you'll look amazing and you'll feel amazing and you'll enjoy that special day so much more. Thank you so much for listening to my top hints and tips of what to wear to a wedding. I hope you found it useful. I have written a blog on this on my website if you want further information, or please do feel free to contact me. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.